Alright, so we're gonna go into the valve lash adjustment because we're replacing a push rod on this Briggs and Stratton Vanguard. I think this is a 3300 series. It usually goes by the first couple of numbers and on your engine, the side of your engine code, and then you can come up with 33, 3100 for Vanguard, and then all your other engines, you have different codes, so you can look them up. But anyway, the lash adjustment's always been complicated on these things because the first thing that it does when you adjust, or your lash is out of adjustment, your valve lash, is your engine doesn't want to crank over with your starter anymore. It's like if your exhaust or your intake is slightly gap larger than it should be, or somehow it moved, and it's not just right, so to say, then you have a problem with the starter turning the engine over. So you find that you have to get a jump start and jump your lawnmower all the time. You replace the battery and it still doesn't solve the problem. And so that's one of the pain in the asses about these single cylinder engines and some of the double cylinder engines on the lawnmowers. So this is an old model. This is a 1998 model Husqvarna / Poland Pro / Craftsman / they're all married to each other. So this is what we have to work on today. So what we did was we adjusted the push rod on the intake side by feel, just thinking we could get by, cut some grass, and then get to it later. But that didn't work out so well because we bent the push rod and then we broke a push rod. And that's your intake side, at least it's supposed to be. And this is what we have. So we had to order some more. And in case you need to order some for this mower or for this engine, I think generically these push rods are going to be close to the same, but you need to double check for your single cylinder.
Commonly sold as a set.
Yeah, right. Because they're different. Believe it or not, they're not the same push rod. They're different. I think your exhaust is made out of steel, and that's right there. And then your intake is lighter, and it's made out of aluminum. And I think that's one of the differences. And it could be the length. So that's steel for sure, and that's aluminum. But anyway, that's your exhaust. And in case people don't tell you, there's no diagram for which one is bent or which one is intake and which one is exhaust. We would have to try to go into it, but I think your top valve, your top lash rocker arm is your exhaust, and your bottom right here is your intake. And I think that's a correct reference. But we're going to go into it and look and see. And so your exhaust is there, I got that, and then your intake number right there. Alright. And so this is supposed to be your adjustment. Here it is, universally written in crayon for anybody to understand. This is generically you have between 0.003 and 0.05, or 0.003 and 0.005 thousandths, and same with the exhaust, but between 5 and 7. So what I would do is try to put it somewhere in a happy medium in between all of this. That's what generically I would do. If you put it here, you might get it too tight. If you put it here, you might get it too tight, because it's not very easy to adjust this. And then again, it's probably extremely easy unless you're over analyzing the situation. Then it becomes complicated. Constantly backing off the nut and tightening it up, and it makes it a pain in the ass. So we've had this off already because we did that damage to the push rod. Like I said, our starter wasn't working properly to start the engine, so we tightened up one of the rocker arms that we thought was loose, and it was the intake, and it ran for the whole day, and then it bent that push rod at the end of the day, which was weird, but that's what happened. Actually, it bent it upon starting up the next day, so it had a chance to cool down. I'm guessing that maybe when it cooled down, the metal contracted again, and then something happened.
Probably.
It
got forced.
Remember we made the adjustment while it was hot?
Yeah, we did.
And that's not the proper way to do it. You're supposed to have this thing cold. You're supposed to make the adjustment, and then you're supposed to start it up. And it really makes that big of a difference. And they're really temperamental, and you wouldn't think so, you know?
Yeah, so there you go. Exhaust on top and intake on bottom.
Right, that's an exhaust. Okay, so we're going to spin this thing to where we think is pretty much top dead center. You should find top dead center, because even that makes a difference. I tried to, do it by guesstimating. Didn't work out so well. So this looks like we're all the way. Man, that's tight. Even if it's correct, it's tight. You see how tight that is?
Yeah.
I didn't fool with that.
That ain't moving. No, we didn't.
I think this is top dead center. I can feel it pivoting back and forth. Dang, that's tight.
For being top dead center?
Yeah.
When it's top dead center, do you have any tensions on any of the rods, on any of the push rods?
No.
Gotcha.
It's way too tight. It's way too tight. Alright, let's get a look at this. This is what we think intake is, right? It's aluminum.
Yeah.
Now, if you cross-reference the part number, it's intake. But still, nobody on the internet tells you, hey, the bottom one is the intake. It's the silliest thing, So if you go looking for a reference, you're not going to find that. I say it's intake for one good reason. You want to know what that good reason is?
Huh. Because it's right over, well, I wouldn't say it's over the
Yeah,
cylinder.
look, your intake's up here too.
Huh, okay.
Can't say that, right? But you can. Look at this, right on your valve side. Look, come over here. Right on your head and right on your valve side, right? Your valve.
Oh yeah, exhaust.
You got an exhaust pipe, right?
Right.
Right there, and that's how you can tell. Exhaust straight down. That's kind of a confirmation. And your intake does some
Weird.
loop
Yeah.
around and sloops down right here to catch this valve, see? Cuts itself down in the head that way.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's a good for your generation of people that likes to fact check everything.
Fact check.
Fact check, yeah. You know what? Just for shits and giggles and for this video, I'm going to pop this plug out.
Alright.
And I'm actually going to use this push rod, the old push rod here, the one that I bent up.
To see where top dead center is?
Yeah, to stick in my plug hole. Alright, pause that. So I got my new push rod already in for the intake side. I'm sure y'all saw me do that already. Look at the carbon. Go look at this shit. Oh well. Not a big deal. Alright, let's see. Let's see that push rod. Coming up. Yeah, there we go. That's up all the way. Let's see what cycle we're on. Okay, so we're not in between valves here. What I mean is we're not toggling between intake and exhaust at top dead center.
Right, that'd be the second, or the third and fourth stroke.
Don't embarrass yourself. All right, so the next step, what we have to do, we're not between the two. We're actually on the next upstroke. So
Gotcha.
the start, I would say the start of the cycle. So
The in-between cycle, but not on that one.
here we go. Look. Okay, so we're at the very top, right around there. That's top dead center. That's confirmed. And we are super tight on this, right? Super tight. This, we just kind of stuck that there, so let's back off of this. What size was that?
It was 14, 15, or 13.
I don't know what size it is. Let's see. Nope. All right. I could do a lot better with wrenches, but we just grabbed this because it's quick. So I just threw a 16 millimeter on here. Okay. So you don't have to take this all the way off. I am. Sure. What do they call that?
A keeper?
That's what I call it. What do they call it? When you order one, you break one, you gotta order one.
I think they might actually call it a valve keeper.
Really?
They might. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I could put a link in the description for the parts manual.
I'll do that. If people want to look it up, they'll look it up. Alright, so this fits. We don't have 100% right fitting tools here. Isn't that cool?
Well,
We don't even have the right feeler gauge for this.
does the backyard mechanic have? Not all the time.
Sometimes. They should try to get the right tools for the job. Okay. First thing we're going to do is see where this thing needs to go. Alright?
Sitting in its track.
Right. Got a little wiggle to it. It's a little bit loose. That's good. Now remember, intake was between 03 and 05, so that's pretty tight for an intake, right?
Right.
And then exhaust was 05 to 07. So what if we compromise and we do both of them 05? But we can't do that because our feeler gauge only goes down to 008. So how do we do that if that's all we got? Like I said, we don't have the right tools, but we're going to make this work anyway. So here's what we got. 008. And we need to get below 7 and below 5 or 5 on the intake side. So we've done another engine like this, and we have compromised by putting the feeler gauge tighter than normal. See, for intake or exhaust, intake's pretty tight, yeah. For intake or exhaust, that's too loose, no matter which way you look at it. Okay, so we backed it off and we tried it again. Now this is kind of tight. Right there. But it's too tight. Why? Because if I were to try to crank down on this, it would get tighter. Okay. Let's see what this brings us. And what I did was I tightened it down to it's barely catching this. Now I'm going to try to make it a little bit tighter.
By tightening down. Then.
Right, so I'm going to use this actually to my benefit, that it's too big, too wide, that it's 008, and that's going to work to my benefit because if I pull it out and it's still got some snap to it, some wiggle to it, this kind of acted as a reference. You know what I mean?
Right, so you're using the keeper to make the final adjustment.
Right, if it gives me a little resistance pulling it out, that's a lot of resistance. See, I'd guess that that's. I would have guessed that that's 003.
because you can't.
No, not yet. Look.
Oh, got it in. Okay.
See, that's how temperamental this thing is. Look, you can kick this that way or that way, and you're not right.
Your adjustment's
See, I'm
off.
still too loose. That's 7 at best.
Needs to be tighter than that for
Yeah.
intake.
Yep, and that's how temperamental this thing is. So we can either keep, you know what, I'll keep filming this one, and we'll just get to that point. So I need to back off one smidgen. See that little bitty smidget made it too tight. See?
Very temperamental adjustment.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, man, honestly. It always has been. Okay, so that's the best fitting so far. Let me see. Okay, that's pretty tight right there. That's real tight right there. If you do that, it'll loosen up. So I'm going to leave it about right there. I'm going to tighten this up all the way. I'm going to say, okay, now crank down on this. That's a lot tighter. That's probably like 04. I mean, I'm guessing.
Can't even get the fuel gauge in there to see it, so.
No, but if you wiggle this a little bit, you can get it in there. See that?
Ah, okay.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to do it, but I'm going to tell you, if you got the proper fit and feeler gauge, it ain't that much easier.
No, it ain't.
Because this is, you know,
Still gotta do the same
you're
thing.
still fooling with a bunch of bullshit guesstimations, honestly. That's what you're doing. Now here's your exhaust. I have two choices. I can fool with this exhaust, or I can leave it alone. What should I do?
Well, what does it look like on the fuel gauge?
It ain't. There ain't nothing on the feeler gauge.
Really? It's like loose in there?
Yep.
Ooh, okay.
Can't even get it in there. Look. This is exhaust too, between 05 and 07, right?
Right. So it should be just to where you can barely get that feeler gauge in there by hand. Like, you know how you had to wiggle it with the intake?
Yeah.
So make it to where you can put it in with the exhaust, but it's got resistance.
Right.
Like it's slightly less than 8 thousandths.
All right. Yep, it's all about going up and down like that on the feeler gauge. With the feeler gauge in, wiggle this up and down until the gap closes, and tighten that nut until it closes. Then tighten your Allen all the way. Okay, this is my 8 right there. Okay, that's my 8, and it's a little tighter. So by the time I close this, then tighten this all the way, it should rein it in about 6 or 7. That's looser, right?
Than it was before?
Right.
Yeah, it was.
But check it out. My intake should never feel as loose as my exhaust,
Yeah, never.
because look at my intake. It's supposed to be tighter than my exhaust. Correct?
Right.
So we're going to tighten my intake up, and then we're going to start this thing up and try it, okay?
Yeah.
Stop that. Alright, so we're going to start it up and see what it looks like with the cover off.
Looks good.
So ticking and tacking, it didn't sound that much to me.
No, wasn't ticking and tacking. Was not ticking and tacking.
All right. Well, let's check well, we lost our top dead center reference. We put the plug back in and everything.
Can we try it anyway?
No, I just want to spin it a little bit. See if that intake loosens up just like that exhaust did. Does that feel like top dead center? Go back, you'll feel that little play where it's
It felt like it did, like it went to a little nook.
Look, see how that got loose? But that was kind of loose like that when we quit.
It was.
Okay, let's check 80,000s again, just to see what happened, or if anything. See, I can barely get that gauge underneath there. I can't actually.
That's good. That means it's way below 8.
Not way below, probably 4. This too, same difference.
Is it easier to fit it in that one though?
In the exhaust, yes.
Okay,
a little
good.
tiny bit.
But they're close, just exhaust.
I could have pushed it and pushed the spring down a little bit, you know, by wedging it in
Got it.
and wiggling it, but
Not with intake.
it's a lot looser than it was. They're even almost. Before it was not like that. This one was really loose, and this one was really tight.
And that's the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
I know, but that was what the original problem was, for the reason that the starter would not start this thing up. It had our starter motor smoking,
Yeah.
and we replaced the battery once already because the other battery is partly compromised. But still, the new battery made no real difference.
Yep.
You're a witness to that?
I was.
Okay, so we went into this, and it started right up when we adjusted this by hand
Right.
in the field, without a feeler gauge or anything.
Just adjusted it a little too.
Right. A little too much, yeah, a lot too much. So we probably left it, you know, maybe too tight or something. I don't know. So something happened. I don't know if it was too tight or too loose, but it was not right. And so, I don't know. So here we go. So I guess this could conclude this video on valve lash adjustment in real time, kind of. When I say in real time, I mean modern and up to date, because we're in 2024 right now, and a lot of videos are older and stuff, and so maybe there's still people running around with gasoline engine and still cutting grass and stuff like that, you know. Maybe they have to do this on some other kind of equipment, and it's the same procedure.
Your model number is always on the top of your valve cover.
Show them where it is.
Hold that for a second. This one you can't tell that well because it's dirty, but
Yeah, you got a model number here.
imprints.
Right.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
you can tell it's about a 33,000 engine.
Okay, guys. Thanks for watching.